Hi everyone, my name is Father Sam Kachuba. Welcome to Faith Friday. We're in the last couple of days before we begin that great and holy season of Lent. It's a time of penance, it's a time of preparation, it's a time of purification. It's a time for us to engage in those great pillars of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. So in these days, I want to encourage you to think a little bit about what you might want to give up. What kind of fasting do you want to take on during the season of Lent? What kind of almsgiving can you do? And what will you do to discipline yourself more in the area of your own prayer life? But in these days before Lent, we're also in that great kind of celebratory time, right? In many places, they call it Carnival, Mardi Gras, whatever you want to describe it as. It's a time to celebrate, it's a time to feast. And I know that sometimes that feasting can get a little bit out of hand, and we see all kinds of crazy things happening when parties get a little too rowdy and a little too intense, and there's too much celebration. But let's think a little bit about what it means to celebrate Carnival. Well, first of all, it comes from the Latin word carne vale, meaning meat and leaving. So it's a way of saying goodbye to the flesh, goodbye to the meat. Once upon a time, Catholics would fast from meat throughout the entire 40 days of Lent, or many people would take that on as a particular discipline. But if we think of it not so much as meat, but as flesh, well, it's a great way to think about the idea of disciplining our bodies, disciplining ourselves. And so we're saying goodbye to those bodily desires and urges, and we're disciplining ourselves a little bit more. During the season of Carnival, Mardi Gras, it's a time to feast a little bit because we're about to enter into 40 days of fasting. See, in the Catholic Church, we have this understanding of what it means to feast and to fast. And the difference is important, but the fact that we keep both of them is also important. See, we need to feast. We need to be able to celebrate great things. And in fact, that's what the Pharisees ask Jesus. They say, why do your disciples not fast like everyone else? And he says, can you fast while the bridegroom is here? And we know that Jesus remains with us always in the Eucharist. He tells us as much at the end of the Gospel of Matthew when he says, behold, I am with you always, even into the end of the age. And so Jesus is with us, and so we celebrate, we feast. And we celebrate on particular high holy days for us, like Easter, like Christmas. Notice, if you will, that all of the greatest foods come from celebrating Catholic feasts. All the great excuses to eat awesome food, it's always because there's some big feast day happening. And so we eat extra candy, we eat extra good foods like cookies and special cakes and special desserts and all kinds of good things. We feast and we enjoy it. But we also know as Catholics that we have to fast. We can't always be in that time of feasting. It's also important for us, as our Lord did, to enter into a time of doing without. And so Jesus was 40 days in the desert without eating or drinking. He was 40 days in the desert being tested. And so we enter ourselves sometimes into a time of penance, disciplining our own bodies, disciplining our own minds and our own wills, so that rather than giving into every single urge that we have, we learn how to control ourselves. We also learn how to offer something. So it's not all about us, but we're offering something to our Lord. So in these days right before Lent, enjoy yourself. Feast a little bit. Don't overdo it, but feast and enjoy the feast, so that as we begin to fast, we may know that the bridegroom remains with us. And as we fast, we may do it along with him as we accompany Jesus out into the desert of our Lenten season. God bless you.